Hello, welcome to Board Game Bonkers. I'm Jay Sears and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at 6 unique board games. Yes, these are our top 6 unique board games. And I'm not going to go into detail about how they all play, but I will give you a bit of a sense of that. But I'm going to talk more about the uniqueness and what is unique about those board games. One interesting thing to discuss before we get into that list is what is unique, what makes something unique. And it doesn't mean it's entirely something brand new. Unique can be something that's slightly different to how something was done before. Perhaps there's a new part has been added to something that makes it different, or perhaps it's something that's been completely reinvented, that feels different, looks different, sounds different, and therefore it creates uniqueness in that. It doesn't mean that has to be something completely brand new. And let's be honest, nearly everything has been done in board games. So it's not about thinking about something new. It's thinking about what makes it different, what gives it a different angle, a twist to it that gives it its uniqueness. So today we're going to take a look at our top 6 unique board games, games we've enjoyed playing. I would certainly recommend checking these board games out. Now, before we get started, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so, because the vast majority of you here are not subscribed. Why not? It doesn't cost you anything. And we guarantee a video every single Saturday. And please do head over to our playlist, because most of our videos are less than a year old, so they're all fresh and lots of good content on this. Now let's get on to our list then, and let's take a look at our top 6 unique board games, starting with, I think this one is probably the most fun out of them all, and this is Magic Maze. And Magic Maze is a very fun game. I remember playing this first time in a pub and on a few drinks. So I brought this game along, and it was like, okay, we've got to try and escape this maze. We're going to break in these Vikings, and we're going to steal these artifacts, and then we've got to try and escape. But we can't communicate verbally. We can only communicate with this large meeple piece, which we're going to have to bang on the table. So what do we do? You'll have these different tiles that will tell you the direction you can move a piece in. And you do not control a certain particular piece, you can control all of them, so you're all working as a team. So this is cooperatively, and you'll be banging this piece to communicate with your teammate to tell them to do something. Of course, you can't verbally tell them, you can only bang to communicate, but you can bang perhaps on the tile to tell them they need to move, and perhaps you're banging next to the piece they need to move. So you'll be moving into this maze. You've got a timer, and then you've got to be careful, because there are certain spaces you can go into to reset the timer. If you run out and you've lost, you're trying to move as quick as you can. Crazy fun, and it has that uniqueness. I haven't seen this in a real-time game where you can't communicate, and you can only communicate with this large piece you're banging on the table. And sometimes you're banging in frustration, but the other players are thinking, well, what do you want me to do? So it's really interesting. That's a unique feel, because as you're going through this shopping mall and you're revealing tiles, so when you go to a door, you reveal another tile. And what is unique about this as well, not just how you're moving, everyone can move the piece, but you've got these different movement tiles. You'll be rotating those movement tiles when you set the timer, so they'll constantly change throughout the game, which is really unique. And you're thinking, oh, okay, I've got to think about how I can only move this way now. Fascinating stuff, super fun. And as you go through this rule book, it's actually got different rules as you go through. I'm going to call them modes. So you're going through these different modes. I think there's 50 different levels. And once you get into the levels, it increases the difficulty. More things, you start getting CCTV coming in, and it just changes. It just has this unique flavour, this unique feel to it, that I haven't seen this in a game before. Yes, we've seen exploration where you go to a door and then you discover another room. We've seen that, but it's added real time, and you can't communicate verbally, and you're going to try and move the Vikings in and out and around and try and avoid obstacles, trying to find the quickest way, because you've got escalators you can go up as well. That's unique because you can't talk. So that makes it far more unique than lots of other games. And sure, there's some part of games where you can't verbally engage or talk, but this certainly has a crazy feel to it. And certainly when you're going through the levels and adding more rules and CCTV and other things, it certainly makes it interesting and engaging through it. I really think this is fantastic laugh, and it does frustrate a lot of people if you can't talk this is a game for fun. This is a game you might have a few drinks and just have a bit of fun, and perhaps you want to get your family involved. It's one of those games where you can, and the more you play it, the better you get at it. So let's move in to our second one. This is our number 5, and this game is Mission Control. Now, in Mission Control, it essentially feels like a puzzle game, an escape room game. So you have these large boards, and certainly if you can make the room thematic, this has a great thematic sense to it. And it's almost like a roll and write. You'll be figuring out where the numbers go, crossing the dots and crosses to figure out and narrow down what you're going to communicate, what you're figuring out on your board. And it definitely feels like a sense, it's certainly cooperatively, you're working together, but it has that feel of in a control room where you've got your part that you're trying to solve to benefit the team. And you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I narrow this down to clearly communicate what it is we're trying to do? I really like that. You've got your own little puzzle to solve. And it does feel a little bit mathy, so if you're not into maths, then this might be something you don't consider getting. But I certainly feels quite thematic and that escape room feel type of game, and a mission control room of space, and trying to figure out how do we communicate this message, or going to decipher this to communicate. I really like that. I think it has that more of a sense of an escape room type of game rather than any others, but it has a unique feel because you've got these boards and you feel like you're in a control room and you're thematically thinking about, okay, how are we going to get this message out? So I really like that. I think this has a more unique sense to escape room type of games than any other ones we've played, and this certainly has a different feel to it. It's almost a party sense to it, party feel to it as well, because you've got a group of people together and you're having a bit of fun and to work out the puzzles. I like it, but like I said, it's quite mathy as well. So you don't like maths, you might not like this, but it's not that mathy. So don't panic too much. You're not the math magician. So let's move in to our next one, our number 4. And our fourth unique game, no, this is a third unique game, and it's number 4, is Galaxy Trucker. Galaxy Trucker is just a bonkers game as well. It's just crazy because you've got this ship you're trying to create, and you've got all these pieces, and it's about a real time just trying to scramble around all these pieces in the board to find the pieces. What's a gun? Is it an engine? Perhaps you need more space, and you're trying to then build your spaceship, which is bonkers, and you've got enemy ships that come along that you're trying to defend against and attack. And it does reward players who know the game well, because you know what pieces you're looking for, which is a bit of a drawback to this game. But the fun thing is, it's just crazy. Usually when you're building a ship, you've got plenty of time to think about what pieces you want to upgrade, etc., what cards you need, what tiles you need. But in this game, it's real time, so you haven't got the time. You're trying to rumble around, find the pieces you need to then build and find out what fits. It's just crazy. And I think this works really well for some type of gamers who want a bit of fun, who want to be racing against the time, don't want to be taking it too serious, and let's just see what happens. Am I going gun heavy? Am I getting armor because I'm going to defend and perhaps concentrate more on that and only have a couple of guns? Absolutely crazy. Fantastic fun, and certainly one I recommend. And it's not that type of game. You need to play it a few times to know what pieces you need, what works well. And once you play that a few times, it makes it more fun, I think, unless you're all new playing the game, in which case you haven't got a clue what pieces you need and you're just rummaging about trying to get any piece that fits into your ship. Just bonkers fun. So let's move in to our number 3. And this is a game I really enjoyed. And what makes it unique is the fact, and I know every other game like this has 3D structures, this is the only one that uses a 3D structure that actually makes sense, and it is part of the main game. This is Yggdrasil Chronicles, or Chronicles of Yggdrasil. And this has a 3-tier tree that takes forever to build, so I highly recommend once you build it, you keep it up. But this is unique because the tree is the main board. That is the main concept of the game. So you'll be playing cards to determine which creature enemy you activate, and then you'll be activating that enemy, which will move up the levels. The tree will rotate round. There's card artifacts, card abilities that you can have. You've got your own player abilities. You'll be moving your characters, activating them. You'll be going in combat. There's dice you'll be rolling, but there's ways to manipulate that dice as well. And you'll be trying to defeat the enemies. And you have this book you go through, and it's different missions. The story isn't great, but it does introduce new rules slightly into the game and new creatures, new difficulties. So that mixes it up a little bit. But the interesting thing is the tree will rotate round the sink. It's enemies that will rotate the tree, and you'll be going up these different levels, and each level allows you to do something different. There'll be levels where you can capture different creatures, elves that'll help you in combat. You have other card artifacts that you can collect that'll help and benefit you, give you one-time bonuses, for example. So each tree does something different, and I like that. I like that each level is slightly different, and you're figuring out, okay, how do we defeat the enemies? But yet we need to increase our abilities. We need to get more artifacts. We need to get better at this. Perhaps we need more elves to help in combat. I really like that. And you can choose which order you start the round in. I really like that. Really interesting game. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great because the tree just functions as it should function, and is the only one of a 3D structure that actually operates fully and properly as it should, and it does not feel gimmicky. That's what makes it unique, and I think it's great. Really do enjoy this. Highly recommend it. Unfortunately, we got rid of it, and I wish I didn't now. I think I might get it back. So let's move in to our next one. This is our number 2. This is Micro Macro, which certainly feels unique in a way, if you like. Where's Wally? And it's like that, except the difference is you'll be trying to uncover murders. So you have these cards, and you'll be following the cards one at a time, and it'll ask you to find a certain someone at a certain location, and you'll be trying to find that person, except it's so tiny on this map. So you've got this scrolling map of a city filled with lots of different crimes, and it's so hilarious looking at all those different crimes. And you'll be following the steps backwards, and sometimes you'll find the murder first, and then you'll be going backwards, and in a previous space you can see that that person was walking towards his death, and where has he gone before that. So you'll be going back and sometimes forward. I really like that concept of where's Wally, where have they gone, where was the next move, where was the previous move, and the cases get more complex and more difficult. It did feel that after we played most of the campaigns, when we completed most of them, it does feel a bit samey after a while, and it's certainly not a kind of game I'd play 2 of them, because I feel that once you've played through the whole entire first one, I think that's enough, and that's us doing enough. But it's a great family game. It's certainly one I recommend. It has a unique feel than any other board game. It really does. I don't know any other board game like this. It really is unique. Although it is like Where's Wally, but I put a twist on it that gives it its uniqueness. Let's move into our number 1, and this is Carnival Zombie. Zombie Carnivals? Carnival Zombie. Now, in Carnival Zombie, not only is the theme unique because you have these wacky carnival zombies coming towards you, and essentially the cubes, and you have the main characters, which, if you've got the Kickstarter version, are not 3D standees, but they're 3D models. And you'll be trying to defend yourself and finding a way to escape. Now, there's 3 different ways to escape, and once you escape, you've got this kind of mini game, which makes it feel a little bit different than other zombie games. But this is a unique part. When you're attacking the zombies, you'll be collecting those cubes, and you'll be dropping them from a distance onto this board. And whichever cubes fall off, they go back onto the board, and whichever cubes remain on that small board are dead. And that's the unique thing. That combat is just so unique. And you think it wouldn't work, but it does. When it's around in chicken dice, the randomness, I'm dropping cubes from a distance. And as long as you're not too pernickety with the distance, it works really well. And as the game progresses, it gets more difficult because more cubes are on the board, which means it's more difficult to keep the cubes on the board. I really like that. And I love the mini game that you've got in this, and you're escaping, and you go zoom in closely to how you're escaping, and I really like that. I think it's fantastic, and I think the theme of this is certainly more twisted than a lot of other Summer games, and that gives it its freshness. I think they've done a good job here, and I really like it for that difference and how it feels completely different all round. So that brings us to the end. I hope you've enjoyed this, and do check out these unique games. I highly recommend them. It does have a unique feel to each of these games, and I think that's what sets it apart from all the others. And the whole game of this list might not be completely unique, so each game might have just little sections or mechanisms that are different, but it gives it a freshness. And I think that's what's important in gaming, is keeping things fresh so it doesn't feel too samey. But I have to say that these feel completely different than any other games I have played, and I highly recommend them. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and please do check out the playlist for other videos if you enjoy this. And until next time, my name's Jay Sears. Take care.
This is Bonkers.